Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you so much to come into today's webinar. I'm Vivian from GoElite. I'll be today's host. So we'll start right on time. All right. So for today's webinar, we will provide more information about Goldey-Beacom College and its program and the CPT policies, etc. We will have a QA section at the end. Please send your questions into the QA. Due to the time restriction of today's webinar, if your question wasn't answered, or if you have a more detailed question about your personal situation, please feel free to scan the QR code. Our consultants will be happy to assist you with the one-on-one consultation. I'm very honored to introduce today's speaker, Hannah, to all of you guys. She is the Director of International Student Compliance at GBC. Hannah, do you want to say hi to everyone? Hannah, are you with me?
Sorry about that. I'm not sure why I keep getting kind of booted out, but hello. Nice to be here, and I'm excited to talk to everyone about Goldey-Beacom.
Thank you so much for that. We are very glad to have you in today's section. Before we jump into Hannah's part, I will give you a little introduction of who is GoElite and what we do. Okay, so we are an educational consultant firm located in Los Angeles. We are aiming at helping students with their CPT universities, emergency transfer or change their status to F1. Our mission is to help international students better achieve their goal in the US. We are certified by ARIC, which is the most credible organization in the American education industry. I would also like to introduce our reward program, which aim to help build a community for all the CPT students, for all the F1 students especially. This program will have all the necessary informations, including course evaluations for the schools and group chat for all the admitted students. By participating, you can earn points and redeem them for gift cards later on. In this reward program, we will also be launching a form which serves the function just like Reddit. You can post your questions, and then as a community student can also help you on your concerns or issues. So stay tuned for that and feel free to join our reward program if you're interested in. Next, we know the H1B season is coming up, so we are going to host an H1B blessing event. Feel free to click the link in the resource to join our events of H1B Blessing 2025. Okay. And you can also find us on Google, which we have many authentic reviews from our students. We are also available for on the all social platforms. Feel free to follow us on those social platforms. We will post CPT and H1B informations on all of them. All right, so I'll hand it to Hannah. I'll stop sharing and we shall start. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Let's get started. I just have some slides to go through to tell you a little bit about Goldey-Beacom College, the academic pieces of it, and then, the different bits of visa support that we provide and, the opportunities for day one CPT. So broadly speaking, Goldey-Beacom College is a small institution in Wilmington, Pike Creek, Delaware, which is about right in the middle of Washington, D.C. and New York City. We have a couple different graduate programs looking at a Master of Business Administration track, a Master of Science, or a Master of Management. Something that is really nice about Goldey-Beacom is the flexibility.
Oops. I think she had a technical issue. Well, as we are waiting for Hannah, I wanted to jump in. Oh, here she is. All right.
So sorry, I really don't know what's going on with that, but hopefully it is short-lived. Let me reshare my screen and chat a little more just about our program offering. All right, fantastic. So we do have some different degree options. And like I was starting to say, we have a lot of flexible entry points. So we have sessions that start at least every 8 weeks, and that can be really helpful if anyone is pursuing like a change of status or something, because all of those deferrals, we have, constant entry points where you can join and begin your studies. I don't want to spend too much time on our mission, value, purpose, all of that stuff. It's all on our website. But what I do want to draw your attention to is how focused our mission, vision, and purpose is on career readiness. The relevance to this for international students, I think, is that it really substantiates your legal participation in CPT. We do not require CPT as part of our program, but we leverage our mission, our vision, and our purpose, as well as the demand for current knowledge in the business field as part of our CPT compliance. What GBC is all about is helping our students kind of link what they're learning in the classroom to practice out in the corporate world. So that, our entire institutional mission really helps support the mission of practical training, whether it's, CPT, OPT, or anything like that. Just going to talk a little bit about our program offerings, because we do have those kind of different larger categories of degrees, but even within them, we have a lot of variation as well. So we do have just kind of a comprehensive MBA degree. We also have different concentrations. What I have on the screen is just the core, which means whichever of these programs you're pursuing in the MBA sphere, you're going to be taking those 7 classes with some concentration courses depending on which track you choose. The difference between a major and a concentration is you're taking more classes in that field and you're kind of losing a little bit of that MBA core. So majors are a little more specialized than concentrations, but you still get kind of the broad knowledge base that comes with a Master of Business Administration. We do have one STEM designated Master of Business Administration, and that's our MBA analytical track. I'm going to kind of circle back to that in a minute because the STEM designation has some implications for CPT opportunities and how we would navigate that. But we do have this one STEM degree if anyone was, interested in pursuing a STEM designated program. That curriculum is different. It's more quantitative, more focused on project management, data analytics, business analytics, and a little, more of the quantitative side of an MBA course of study. The Master of Science in Finance and Taxation, as well as the Master of Management degree, kind of sit as more specializations or specialties. So if you are thinking, MBA is great, but I'm really dedicated to finance and I want to kind of elevate myself and move through the ranks within the finance sphere, you may more want to pursue a Master of Science in Finance. Same idea with taxation. They're just way more specialized and way more focused on those fields without the kind of interdisciplinary intersection you get with an MBA program. Just wanted to kind of give you a good sense of like what graduate school at GBC looks like. We have, graduate students that come from, as far away as California, and then, students that are closer by, Pennsylvania, Maryland. We have a format, which I'll get into later, which allows for a lot of students to commute and live far away while maintaining their different requirements. As you can see as well, a good portion of our graduate program, only about a third of it is, domestic citizens of the US. You're looking at about 2/3 of it populated by international students. We have, our top countries listed there, but then we also have some good representation from all around. Additionally, I have 2 programs crossed out here just because the MACP program is a very different track. It's not day 1 CPT eligible, and we can't support F1 students on certificate programs. However, I wanted to give you all a good picture of kind of what the different program enrollment looks like. And, right now our analytical STEM track is our biggest program, our newest, most exciting program. And you can kind of see where the other students fall and where, students are really interested. It's no surprise that we see, finance and business analytics kind of closer to the top of that given the current climate. And then just to give you a sense too of, what the classroom looks like, what classmates at GBC are like specifically for international students. We do have, a few students who did their undergraduate degrees here, but we also have students who have transferred to us from, schools in California, from a different Ivy League schools and other prestigious universities. Additionally, looking at the academic profile of our new students from fall of 2024, we have, some pretty academically competent and rigorous students with, looking at about the average GPA of a 3.41 from their previous institution. When it comes to the cost of the degree, we are a per credit hour institution. This means that like you're only ever going to be charged for the classes that you take. We have no additional fees outside of a $100 graduation fee that you would pay at the end of your degree. However, the only thing that is going to get charged to your account is your tuition. Right now, that is $610 per credit hour. All of your academic courses are 3 credits each, and you would be taking 6 credits in a semester, looking at about 3,600 a semester. Our business office has fantastic offerings for students where you can enroll in an interest-free payment plan and kind of divide your balance up in installments. And then they also work with any of our students who have like employer reimbursement or tuition benefits where it may not align with our payment due dates, but the funds are coming. Those students work with the business office and that, is sorted and handled for them. We're going to touch on CPT more in depth a little later, but there is just a note here when it comes to costs that you have to have an academic component to CPT. And so there's a 1 credit internship course that's added the semester in which your CPT is approved. It's not something that's charged every semester. It is charged per year of CPT, and that 1 credit internship covers a full year of CPT. So when we start to think then outside of cost, academics, all of that good stuff, and shift our focus more toward visa components, the government lets institutions define what full-time enrollment is for F1 students. So we have defined it as 2 classes or 6 credits of enrollment in consecutive sessions of the fall, spring, and summer semesters. What this means is we have, a 15-week long semester and we divide it into at least 2 sessions. And as an F1 student, to maintain an F1 status, you would need to take at least 1 course in each session. When it comes to on-site requirements or having to visit the campus, I've included a screenshot here of our spring schedule because I think it's a little easier to visualize than to just explain. But really, most of our F1 students enroll in our Saturday classes. Our Saturday courses are the only ones that are offered in a hybrid format. And the way Saturday courses function is you're only meeting 4 times over the course of an 8-week session. And for a hybrid class, you're only coming to the campus 2 times. So if we're looking at, this graphic here, if someone were to join us in spring session 1, let's say they did their first class fully online, they don't need to come to campus for the entirety of January to March. And then they're going to do their hybrid requirement in spring session 2, which means they only need to come to the campus March 22nd and April 12th. The other 2 class meetings are held remotely. The academic calendar, we publish it for at least 1 year in advance so that students can kind of be strategic about which semesters are hybrid, which are online, and kind of make their plans accordingly. But this allows the flexibility because, for instance, some students in the fall semester, they did their hybrid class August to October, and they were online from October to December. which is a semester. And now that we're moving into spring, they're going to be online for session 1 and shows their hybrid in session 2. So from the entire span of, the middle of October until the end of March, they're completing their studies entirely remotely. They're coming to campus twice in spring session 2, but it allows you flexibility in terms of traveling to Delaware when that's, doable for you and convenient for you. Then when it comes to applying, I think it's helpful to kind of break it down into different components, because we have, the academic eligibility, which comes from your transcripts, your mark sheets, any certificates that you have. For application review, we take unofficial transcripts. If students have degrees from outside the US, we also take unofficial transcripts for those. Any institutions in the US, we need the official before you begin enrollment. But for the application component, we can work with an unofficial one, as well as a current resume. That's academically what gets reviewed to determine a student's eligibility. Then there's kind of the other component of, the visa and how we can navigate that. So what we need from a student who is currently in the US on an F1 visa. We need a scan of their passport and visa, I-94. If someone has already been in the US and has completed a degree or 12 academic credits or more, we don't need English proficiency. Additionally, if someone's coming from a nation wherein English is a national language, we don't need English proficiency. Additionally, students pursuing change of status have the English proficiency waived unless they're changing from a tourist visa status. So really, English proficiency is really only applicable to applicants who are applying from overseas or who are in the US on a tourist visa. Additionally, we need financial documentation to cover our cost of attendance as it appears on the Form I-20. I think I touched, this on the next one. So when we're talking about, that was all very specific to F1 student visas, but what kind of visas does GBC support? So, we have the authorization from the government to support F1 student visas. Students who are eligible to enroll in courses and don't want to change their status are certainly, we support those students as well as students seeking a change of status to an F1 visa. We don't have any restrictions on, what your current status is.
I think Hannah had a internet outage or technical issue. Okay, there she is.
Sorry about that. Don't know what's going on. Okay, 1 sec. I will just share this. But we don't have any restrictions on who can pursue a change of status. So, like, if someone is interested in pursuing a change of status from a B visa, that's perfectly permissible. Sometimes that can take a little longer, but we work with students and we support them regardless of their current visa status. The caveat with all of that is just, all these different documents we walked through, they're a little different depending on the current visa status of the applicant. Students who are not seeking a change of status don't need to give us financial documentation. If we're not giving a student an I-20, we don't need finances. We only need that for the I-20. So it can be a little unique depending on your situation. And that's, me and my team are here to kind of help people navigate that as needed. I did want to speak for a moment about the cost of attendance and financial documentation, because we did just kind of go through the tuition fees and the different costs associated with that. Excuse me. The cost of attendance, as it appears on your I-20, is always going to be higher than what you would be charged from GBC. Really, the whole idea of finances on your I-20 comes from the government wanting to make sure that an F1 student can afford not just their college, but can like afford to live, and has, resources to handle any expenses that might be indirect costs of coming to study in the U.S. So our financial aid office is tasked with, calculating the cost of attendance. This figure is used across the board. So there are some different federal things that it's utilized for, but I-20s are part of that. So this figure is calculated kind of outside of the international office, but it is the figure that we utilize because it's what's reported to the government through a few different channels. When it comes to the cost of attendance for the current academic year, that would require students to demonstrate $37,747. When it comes to what financial documentation we accept, though, we do accept, a bank statement, but as well as 2 months worth of pay stubs so that we can kind of calculate someone's, net income over a period of time instead of having to demonstrate those aggregate funds right at that moment. Anyone else can also, provide the financial documentation as long as we have an affidavit of support. We don't have any restrictions on who can provide that support as long as they give us the documentation. So it doesn't need to be a relative or your spouse or anything like that. It can be, whomever, if they're willing to provide the documentation and submit an affidavit with that, then, we can work with that and utilize that for the I-20 purposes. Okay, so CPT. We are an institution, as given our partnership with GoElite, that allows for day one CPT. So students are eligible to apply for CPT to begin with their program. The way that this works is students apply for an academic program first, and then we can help them facilitate the CPT application process. It's pretty straightforward. It's a 2-page form that verifies some details about the employment, as well as establishes some pieces of compliance of CPT that are required by the government for CPT to be legal. And the biggest component for that review is the verification of employment letter or the offer letter, depending on, what the employer is willing to provide. Because that's how we determine degree relatedness. The kind of biggest component of CPT that the government cares about is that it is curricular, that it's related to your field of study. And we determine that through your duties and responsibilities. A job title can help as well, but it's really looking at kind of the job description and the duties and responsibilities associated with that position that help our academic affairs office make a determination. As I had mentioned before, there's a 1-credit internship that gets associated with CPT that is added this semester in which the CPT is approved. And to complete that internship course, students write a 2 to 4 page paper where they have to, kind of connect some of those experiences on the CPT to their specific course content that, helps provide documentation of that curricular nature, and also is, really helpful for our career services team to kind of review, okay, are our classes supporting current goings on in the business sphere? When it comes to the length of CPT, CPT can only be authorized for 1 year at a time. It's not a GBC requirement. It is, the CVIS system. It will not allow you to authorize something for longer than a 1-year increment. After that 1 year, students also, have the opportunity to renew that authorization for the entirety of their program. I do have a little asterisk there because I wanted to talk a little bit about CPT and the STEM degree. We have students very interested in the STEM degree because of the potential for STEM OPT extension, where you have, that 2-year extension after the 1 year of post-completion OPT. You just need to be careful if that's your plan, and you also plan to utilize CPT. The way OPT eligibility works is if students work for 12 months or more on full-time CPT. They are no longer eligible for OPT. And that is determined by the government. When you would apply for OPT, if you had worked for 12 months or more, you're going to submit the I-20. They will see it on your CVIS record, and it, would be denied because you wouldn't be eligible. Some of our students navigate this in a couple different ways. Students will work full time for, 11 months and then take time off, or they'll drop to a part-time status. The nice thing about a part-time CPT, even though it limits you to 20 hours, is none of that employment counts against your OPT eligibility. So there are oftentimes students will kind of leverage that part-time employment if they're trying to maintain OPT eligibility. Oftentimes students, will transfer to us after having already spent their graduate level OPT. They don't care about maintaining that eligibility, and 2 years full-time CPT, that is absolutely doable. I just want to make sure that people are aware that if you're hoping to do CPT and utilize OPT and a STEM OPT extension, you just need to be really mindful of your periods of CPT and the classification of full-time versus part-time. I just wanted to kind of give y'all some examples of current employers we have, where these are different companies our current students are working for through CPT at GBC. And you see there's a really kind of nice range of the more kind of financial side of things with like Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan Chase versus Urban Outfitters, where someone, I think their position is more marketing related, or we have some people who work more in the corporate law sphere, like with Fox and Rothschild. We have, this is just a kind of small snippet of the different employers that we have, but I thought it would give a nice picture of the wide range of opportunities that are applicable to the different degree programs here. Additionally, these are not the only positions that get approved for CPT, but these are kind of, some of the most common ones we see, different, levels and specializations of associates, different kinds of developers, like a Java developer, business developer, staff accountants, a lot of analysts, administrators, executives. All of these are different kinds of positions that our CPT program supports and provides students authorization to, utilize these different opportunities. And then when it comes to the different, resources that are available at GBC, especially, related to CPT, we have the International Student Compliance Office, which is, me and my team, and we're here to help discuss the different regulations around it and to assist with the application process. We also really help with students who are currently on OPT trying to transition to CPT. It can be, very specific about what date we need to transfer so that the OPT ends this date and CPT starts that date, so that, there's kind of that seamless authorization and there's no, concern on the student side, on the employer side about a gap. So we spend, a good amount of time communicating with students about when are you looking to start, what's your OPT situation, and that sort of deal. Our career services team is fantastic with, reviewing and revising resumes. They also hold mock interviews. We have 2 career fairs every, one in each semester, one in the fall, one in the spring, that hire part-time and full-time. So some of our international students before have found good CPT opportunities there. Our career services is really integrated into our CPT process. So they are really familiar, not only with what it looks like on the student side, but with, the different employers that are receptive to CPT, the different employers that know what CPT is. And that can be helpful for students, especially if they're having trouble finding an employer who will allow kind of a CPT authorization. It's also helpful to help students through the process and to kind of let them know what they're looking for. So our career services team is, very, very well informed and very educated on what CPT at GBC looks like. And they're, a fantastic resource for our international students. I do think that that is, yeah, that was my final slide, I think. So we just have the Q&A.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all the amazing informations. Now we'll jump into QA. We'll first answer some live questions that we have here in the QA box.
Would it be okay for me to leave up my final slide, which just has my contact information on it in case anyone has like specific questions that they wanted to reach out about?
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, sure.
Sure, fantastic.
All right. So, let's see. So, as the very first question, we're asking what degree are offered. I believe Hannah already answered this question, during her presentation. So, feel free to find out. If you don't remember this, feel free to reach out to us, or you can watch the recording later on. We will share the recording to all students who attend today's webinar. So you can always go back to find out this information. We'll jump into the next question. The student was asking, what if the F1 student expired while registering for the Day 1 CPT program? Is it allowed to work on CPT with an expired visa if the Civis and I-20 is valid? Hannah, do you want to jump in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm such like a nerd about like immigration things. So I'm sorry if I get too in the details about it. Please tell me to back off if needed. But basically, an F1 status, it's valid for what they call duration of status, which means that if you have a valid I-20, if you're maintaining your F1 status, your presence in the country is legal and you have all of the privileges and opportunities of an F1 student visa holder. It gets complicated if you're trying to travel outside the US, then you definitely have to go renew before you can come back. But as far as, all of the opportunities and privileges of an F1 student, as long as you're maintaining your status and have an active I-20, then CPT, OPT, all that stuff's fine.
Thank you so much. That was a great answer. And then we have an other student was asking, my OPT it's ending in May 2025. When I can tell my employee about the Day One CPT program that I'm going to enroll in, do I tell them 3 months before the end of my OPT, or how do I go about explaining this to them? I wanted to add a little bit on this question. So, if Hannah, you don't mind. We do have some resources on our website. You can find, how to explain CPT to your employees. In that article, you can find some useful, evidence or information to help you explain this to your employees. Feel free to reach out back to me or to GoElite in general. We can share the link with you. And Hannah, please jump in if you want to answer this question.
Yeah, I mean, that is way more specific information than I have because in those kinds of questions, like I'm kind of like, I don't know, it depends on your employer, depends on what they want to do, and kind of how aware they are. Like some employers are going to be like, hey, your EAD card's expiring. And like some of them are not going to be thinking about it in that way. So it is really individualized. I think, Vivian and GoElite have fantastic resources. I'll throw out there that, I am always more than happy to hop on a call with a student and their employer to kind of explain CPT. More so than OPT, CPT seems to get a little strange because we have to academically refer to it as an internship. And so then, like, some companies are like, whoa, this isn't an internship. And we're like, no, we know it's not an internship, but academically it is. So if there's like kind of small rubs like that, more than happy to, connect and offer some clarity.
All right, thank you so much. That it's great. So the other student was asking, do you support tied up with agency and organizations for the CPT? I think the student is asking about whether school support for the internship or volunteers or even like job connections. I believe Hannah also provide this information during her presentation. School will provide all necessary resources and support to students, such as job fair and then resume rewrite. So I think this should be the information that you are looking at. So we're not gonna answer this further. Only if Hannah, you have something to add.
And one other thing I will just throw out there is, there are on-campus opportunities or graduate assistantship opportunities that, students are able to apply for. I think it didn't show because it's like specific to once you're here and a current student, but we do have like our own personalized job posting platform through an app called Handshake. So that does kind of help point students toward positions that our career services have identified as being, relevant in the field and things like that. So definitely robust resources there.
Great, thank you so much. Glad to hear that information. The next question is, will I be eligible for STEM OPT? And I am studying computer science now. Can I transfer to one of them? I think I'm not fully understanding the question. If you asking the information about GBC specifically, if you enroll into one of their STEM program, you are eligible for STEM OPT when you finish the program, of course. You mentioned transfer. If you are currently in another university, wanted to transfer out to GBC, that's also possible. For this specific question, we might need a little more information in order to answer this question. But Hannah, if there is anything that you wanted to add, feel free to.
If you're asking specifically about transferring any of that coursework, I'll, just say we accept up to 9 transfer credits from a previous graduate institution. And our STEM specific program has 15 credits of electives, meaning that, if you are trying to transfer in those full 9 credits, you would have elective room. It's very likely we would be able to take, up to 9.
Thank you so much. Hopefully that addressed your concern. But if not, feel free to reach out to GoElite or to Hannah. We can better help you answer the question when we have more information. All right, so we move on to the next question. If I apply during my OPT grace period and I am still in the US, am I considered as the F1 still and will have a transfer or um, or if I am applying from overseas.
Yeah, if you're within that grace period still, it's an F1 transfer. Um, your record is still in an active status and we can transfer it over. We have had some situations before where students are outside of that grace period, and that isn't even entirely an overseas application. There's ways we can figure that out with different CVIS ID numbers and crossing the border and all that kind of stuff. But it wouldn't, it depends. But if you're still within that grace period, then that's, a very straightforward CVIS record transfer.
All right, great. Thank you so much for answering that. The next question is, what is the responsibility for employers? Does the offer letter has to have the title of intern?
It depends. So we request the job title on the application form. And if we can get the job title there, and then for whatever reason they don't want to put that in the offer letter, we can work with that. Really, we just need to have enough information to really determine degree relevancy. And that's where it kind of falls into a gray area of, we definitely want to help people and we understand, employers may have different reservations or not want to provide whatever, but we want to make sure that, as the person who's holding the visa, you have what you need to substantiate why you're doing what you're doing. So we can work within certain parameters. It's just a matter of if what they give us is enough for us to determine degree relevancy. And if the job title can't be on the letter, but we still know it through the application form, then that's fine.
I understand. Thank you so much. Just wanted to clarify, does the job title has to be indicate as intern or student?
No, no,
Okay.
no. Intern does not need to be in there at all.
Okay, understand. Great. Thank you so much for that. And we got another question is which degree is relevant to the position of IT project manager?
There are a couple degrees, and actually, I didn't realize that I had like missed this slide too. But when we talk about degree relevancy, and if people are like, I don't know, is it not? I usually point people toward our program pages on our website. There's a summary right at the top of each page. And like, I would say, look at that language and like look for some of that in your job description and what you're doing. IT project manager, business analytics concentration would work. The STEM degree would work. We also have an IT concentration that would probably, align depending on which spheres we're in here, but definitely, the MBA, either the STEM or just the plain comprehensive business analytics or the IT.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for the answer. I think that's a very thorough answer in regarding to this topic. It's not an uncommon question that student ask. It's very common student ask all the time, whether my job position is related to the CPT major. We definitely happy to help student answer those type of questions as long as you tell us what is your job and what do you do as a daily duty. We can help you to connect with a correct major for the CPT. So feel free to reach out if any of you guys have any specific question like those, we can definitely answer them. It seems like that's it for the QA. We answer all the questions. That's great. If you have any personal situations that you didn't want to put in the QA box, or later on question pop out, you want to ask about GBC or CPT in general, feel free to reach out back to us, our consultants, and Hannah happy to answer all your questions in regarding to those topics. So thank you so much everyone for attending today's webinar, and thank you Hannah for doing this great presentation with us. Good night everyone. Thank you so much.